You're listening to Side Hustle Pro, the podcast that teaches you to build and grow your side hustle from passion project to profitable business. And I'm your host, Nicaila Matthews Okome. So let's get started. Hey friends, hey, it's Nicaila here, back with another solo episode. And today I want to get into growing a genuine following for your side hustle over on Instagram. And I'm taking it one social media platform at a time because if you don't know, the audience on every platform is different. It could still be people who listen to your podcast or buy from your business, but their behavior is going to be slightly different. And you might be meeting a different age group or what have you on each platform. So we're going to start out with Instagram. And the reason I love starting with Instagram is because it is a platform that I specialize in. It's where I started building the core Side Hustle Pro audience. It's where I started promoting the podcast first. And before it was a podcast, started promoting the blog first. So today I'm going to be breaking down how to identify your target audience and how to identify your target audience, how to engage with your audience, how to plan your content, and how to schedule your content, because all of that is going to help you actually grow. So first things first, I started out using Instagram really casually, just like most people. I was posting what I had going on in my life personally, outfits, travels, food, all that jazz. And I didn't really switch my perspective and look at it as a business tool until in 2015 when I started back my blog. And for those of you who don't know, you can check out the How to Find Your Niche episode. It's coming out as a flashback soon. So check that out on Friday. So in 2015, that was when I really started to do some soul searching. What do I want to do with my life? I wanted to get hired. At the time I was unemployed and I was trying to get out there, put myself out there, stand out to employers. I started a blog. It was super boring. I was trying to be a marketing influencer, whatever that is. And the more I did it, the more I was bored myself. So then I started to just do what I wanted to do, which was interview people, network, talk to people who I was fascinated by, learn more about their careers, because I also, again, was soul searching, figuring out, do I want to go this way? Do I want to go that way? So I'm talking to these folks, but I'm reaching out for an interview because it was more helpful with getting the chance to talk to them and catch up with them. And as I'm doing this, I'm posting these stories on my blog, but I'm also promoting them across Instagram and Facebook. And what I learned is it's so important to share what you have going on for a few reasons. One, people might not always engage with the content. I've heard stats like something between, I believe it's between 1 or 10%, probably more like 1% of people will ever engage with your content. They're seeing it, but they might not engage. They might not leave a comment, but you know they're seeing it because if you post and you meet up with people in real life, people who are part of your network, oftentimes, what are they going to say? Hey man, hey girl, I see you posted XYZ, or I see that happened. All of a sudden, they're recounting your whole life like a stalker, but they never said anything over on Instagram or over on LinkedIn or Facebook, right? How many times has that happened to you? So it just goes to show the importance, because even though they're not commenting or liking, they have you in mind. If they need something in that area of expertise, they know, oh, Nicaila's doing that. Oh, Nicaila's the one to talk to about podcasts. Similarly for you. So it's important for that reason. And it's also important because I've also heard another quote, and I heard this from a guy named Colin Boyd. I don't know if he came up with it, but that's where I heard it. And he said, when people hear your story, they actually don't hear your story. They hear their story. Their brain is connecting with the parts of your story that they can relate to. And that is what helps them to relate to you and like you and continue to engage with your content, because they feel like, I get this person. They get me. I've been there. And you can't have that degree of know, like, and trust with others unless you start to share. So that is why it's so important to share what you got going on. Know, like, and trust you need to build up. That's like something you absolutely need before anyone can ever hire you as a coach, a consultant, buy from you. enlist you to come in and work in corporate delivering workshops or whatever it is you want to be hired for, you need to have that know, like, and trust. And people have to recognize you as someone who knows what they're talking about. And I want to be clear that this is not about quote unquote expertise. That word is wonderful. However, it can be daunting and it's kind of overblown. What is an expert ever? Someone could say, oh, I'm an expert at business. I go get my MBA. And guess what? Everything that was taught then is outdated in 10 years, right? Or even 5 years. So you cannot be an expert unless you keep learning. So to me, the word is kind of overblown because it's such a fluid concept. So don't feel like you need to be a quote unquote expert to do anything. What you need to be is an active learner. Now let's get into step 1 of growing a genuine audience over on Instagram. Step 1 is understand who your audience is. Who is this person that is going to tune into your content? The biggest mistake that most people make when they start a platform is they just start throwing content at people. Who they're talking to, I don't know. They don't even know, but they just start throwing content. They go straight to Canva and they start making quotes and they start making clips from their podcast that they still don't know who they're talking to, but they're making clips from this podcast for this person. No, let's rewind a little bit. All right. I want you to identify and understand who your target audience is. That starts with an assumption. None of us knows when we first start out. We are often thinking of what we want. And I see that over and over again. People say, well, I need this, or I wish someone was talking about this. The I's come out. All right, great. You have a starting point. Okay. Let's go from the I to what your general target audience wants, because you can't put a product on Target shelves or Sephora shelves if only you want it. You have to validate that. So start with an assumption. Okay, this person who is this age, this race, works here, interested in this, having these struggles, wishing that they could see this on the market or hear more about this. That's who I want to talk with. Great. Write that all down. And here's some questions to guide you, right? Number 1, who do you think needs this? Who is this person? What's their name? What's their age? What do they do for a living? Why do they need this content? What are they searching for online? What's missing? Where are they getting their content from currently about this topic? What else do they watch, read, listen to? Who else do they follow on Instagram? So all of this is going to help you understand where this person is hanging out, what they're consuming, what's missing from what they're consuming, and also what else they find funny and engaging and how they navigate Instagram, because this is going to help you when you're ready to start creating the content. So stop creating the content until you have done this part. And the next thing you're going to do is actually talk to these people. You can talk to people in a few ways. And before you even talk to them, you can find them in a few ways. So if you have already started creating content, pay attention to who is already engaging with that content the most. Okay, reach out to them via DMs and message and see if you can get some time on their calendar or ask them if they'd be open to answering some questions. If you haven't started posting content yet, then you're going to need to identify these people in the people you already know in life. You're going to have to really think about, well, who does this remind me of? Who does this remind me of? And could they be someone that I could talk to? So make a list of everyone in your life who could potentially fit in this bucket. And chances are, if you want something because you see it missing or you wish more people would talk about this, you can reach out to people who you already talk about this with in the group chat or have already mentioned the same pain point that they wish there was more about this. If you are currently working to learn more about something and you're in a group or you've attended an event with people who are also interested in this, reach out to them. Really start making a list. Chances are you absolutely know people who could potentially be your target audience. So once you know who this person is, you're going to send a survey. You are going to reach out to them for 5 minutes. You can do either or. I really love the phone conversations, but I understand everyone's different. So you can create a quick survey in Google Forms or type form. You can do phone calls to get to know them even better. And make sure as you're doing this, you're taking notes, okay? Look for common themes. These common themes will be important. I'll let you know why. Because these personas, these people that you talk to, they're not personas yet, but these people are going to guide the content that you create. Why? Because your content is what they need. Your content is what they need, whether it's education, inspiration, or entertainment, whichever one it is. Your content is going to give that to them. I follow everyone from dermatologists who make really interesting content to just pure outright entertainers who just give commentary on pop culture and things going on. And at any given point in any given day, their content is what I need at that moment. So they just have to understand their lane and do what I come to them for. Similarly, after you've done these calls, you should be able to understand some content pillars that are needed for your audience. And your content pillars can be things that speak to the themes that you will hear in the conversations. So an example of content pillars could be, let's use Side Hustle Pro as an example. Side hustle content. So the clips from my Side Hustle Pro podcast itself, that's one content pillar, helping people to see what's going on in these conversations. The clips help them to understand the conversations about business and entrepreneurship that they need. It serves that need. But then there's also the motivation and inspiration content as well, which helps them to get started, keep going, because we know this journey is not easy. So that's another content pillar, motivation and inspiration. And then a content pillar is just pure kiki, just pure laughs, because we need laughs. After a long week, we need to laugh, we need to dance, we need to see something happy and exciting. So that's a content pillar too for me. For my Side Hustle Pro Instagram community, that's something I'm building out more and more on the page, because like life is not all about business and playing around. That said, because I know my audience is there for Side Hustle Pro, business, motivation, inspiration, the kind of things I laugh about are curated and very custom to the Side Hustle Pro community. I'm not just going to pull out random laughs. Like some things just need to stay in the group chat. So you need to understand the difference. And when you know who your audience is, you know what you can share on your page and what you can just go ahead and forward to the group chat. Because I laugh at lots of things, but not everything is for my public brand page. So now that you have identified your target audience, you have to create your target audience profile. So you've done your survey, you've done your calls, you create an overall persona. And I like to stick with one persona. If you've ever worked in CPG or worked at a brand, you know that they like to do multiple personas. Like a Nike, I don't even know how many personas they must have. But you have to remember, you are not a big box brand when you're starting out. It's hard enough to keep up with one core target audience member, but to try to come off the bat trying to serve 5 different or even 3 different personas, you're doing too much. Unless you have a staff and a team already, you cannot serve all these people when you're first starting out. So go ahead and just like with your niche, like I talk about in the How to Find Your Niche episode, you got to pick one. So sorry. I know you could do it all and you could talk to many people. There are lots of people who listen to Side Hustle Pro, not just my target listener, Janelle, who is a Black woman who lives in Harlem, went to NYU, working on her shea butter business on the side, all this other stuff. I know about Janelle, but there are lots of other people who listen to my podcast, but I focus on Janelle because I know that if I get Janelle right, I get everybody else right. I know that if Janelle is happy, I get everyone else happy. So I have to start with Janelle and then other people get served as well. If I want to, I could branch out and create another persona, but I don't have time. I don't have the manpower yet to be focusing on multiple personas, but I know that my primary listener is happy. Secondary, tertiary, thank you so much for tuning in. If you don't match Janelle's persona, but I know that you're here because you want to share the show with more Janelles. You get value from it and you're here to be the ambassador that makes sure Janelle knows about it too. And that is what I love about audience personas. So you identify your target audience, you create your target audience persona, and that's all part of step 1, which is understanding your audience. Step 2 is the engagement piece. Woo! This is where the fun begins, the engagement piece. So first things first with engagement. A lot of people aren't doing this anymore, but I still find this to be a useful exercise. When you start out your social media platforms, please remember the human element of this. For the most part, these are people on these platforms, all right? I know that bots have entered the chat, but for the most part, these are people. And we have learned, especially in the times that we've been through, that virtual networking is just as powerful as in-person networking. A lot can happen online. And I know by now so many of you have internet besties. I know so many of you have people that you have met online who you may not even have met in person yet. So the power of Instagram is it allows you to see someone like or engage on a post and then go to their profile. And if you wish, send them a message, get to know them even more. That's what I've always loved about this platform. I can't say the same for a Facebook business page. I can't even say the same for TikTok because I find there's just so many spam followers that come to you immediately when you start out on TikTok. And it's harder to parse through. And it wasn't like that with Instagram. And it's still not like that when you're starting out your page. So interact with your followers, okay? When you're first starting out, you have to let people know you're there. No one is going to find your profile with 31 followers unless you start to reach out and actually say hello, introduce yourself, make time each day to comment in earnest on other people's posts, make time each day to go out and find your target follower and actually follow them as a way of introducing yourself. Don't go ham on this. If you're finding that you have followed 50 or 100 people and you don't see that reciprocation happening, chances are you still don't know who your target person is, because the whole point of this exercise is you are only introducing and following the person that is your target person. So they should be coming back and following your page as well. If that's not happening, keep going back to step one. And then not only that, but make time to respond to DMs, to do things that show that you are human. I'm not against using tools like ManyChat to have automated welcome DMs when someone comes to your page. However, you have to go in there and also do a follow-up message and make sure they know that, hey, this is not just a page that you followed and now I'm going to send you spam bot messages. Okay. That's a really poor experience for someone that you just met. So again, remember the human element of this. So that's something that you can do. But in the beginning, as you're growing, make it as high touch and one-on-one as possible. And that's why it's so important to make time and schedule time to do this. I know that you don't have a lot of time. I was a side hustler, okay? When I started this, these were activities that I would engage with either before I went to work, on the train, going to work, on my lunch hour, a little bit after work. Like I would literally schedule an alarm, not just schedule on the calendar, but schedule an alarm on my phone for when I would get a free moment, 30 minutes of the day. Maybe sometimes multiple times a day, schedule 30 minutes to go out and do this because it was that important for me to get my page off the ground. And this is how I started attracting followers and building out my community and building out people who I didn't know, people who I wasn't already connected with just from my personal network. I had to go out there and introduce myself. And I find this with real life as well. So I've talked about in my last solo episode about the fact that if I'm not posting and if I'm not showing up and I'm not being visible, the world will forget. So this is not something that it's just like, oh, it's because my page didn't have as many followers. Even now with 93,000 plus followers on Instagram, I find that when I'm not posting regularly and I'm not engaging and talking to people regularly, my page is, every time you have a page, if you're a big page, you're losing and gaining almost the same amount of followers each day. That's just something that happens. Like people, they might have followed you for one thing, whatever, they're unfollowing, but it's on the downward trend when I'm not being active. When I am being active, it's on the upward trend and follows are exceeding unfollows. And that's what you want. So that's why you have to make sure that you are keeping that human element. When I started podcasting, I knew I wanted to sell merch. So I started small with one t-shirt. Now I'm selling t-shirts, hoodies, joggers, mugs, you name it. And it's so easy, all because I use Shopify. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage to the first real life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit $1 million stage. Shopify is there to help you grow. Whether you're selling beauty products or content planners, Shopify helps you sell everywhere. From their all-in-one e-commerce platform to their in-person point of sale system, wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. Shopify helps you turn browsers into buyers with the internet's best converting checkout, up to 36% better compared to other leading commerce platforms. And sell more with less effort thanks to Shopify Magic, your AI-powered all-star. What I love about Shopify is no matter how big you want to grow, Shopify gives you everything you need to take control and take your business to the next level. Shopify powers 10% of all e-commerce in the US, and Shopify is the global force behind Allbirds, Rothy's, and Brooklinen, and millions of other entrepreneurs of every size across 175 countries. Plus, Shopify's award-winning help is there to support your success every step of the way, because businesses that grow with Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/hustlepro, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/hustlepro now to grow your business no matter what stage you're in. Again, that's shopify.com/hustlepro. So step 1 was understanding your audience. Step 2 was engaging with your audience. And then step 3 is all about planning your content. None of this happens organically anymore. None of this happens with me just waking up and saying, hey, what do I feel like posting today? I don't have the time for that. And also, it's so important to plan your content because you might not always be in the mood. You might wake up and you might be in a bad mood. You might wake up and have a fire to put out. You don't know what's going to happen each day. So the more you plan in advance, the more you give yourself the breathing room to know that your page is growing while not having to be doing everything for it in real time. So ways I like to plan out my content include I explore. And I schedule this too. There might be a window one day, let's say I put a 30 minutes or hour on the calendar where I simply go through the accounts that my target person is following, go through accounts that provide me with content, inspo, make me laugh, make me just get in a creative space. And I save content that inspires me, maybe things that I want to recreate in my own voice or for my page, or things that make me think about an area of wisdom that I want to share and break down into like a quote or something like that. So I do that. I spend times where I'm simply just doing content inspiration and content planning. And one thing that makes it easier for me to do this is because I know who my target person is, I also only test content types that are resonating with that person. So let's say I found that Reels could potentially be something that is resonated with her, Instagram Reels. Now, there are different kinds of Reels. If you really go through and spend a day doing some content research about what Instagram Reels or TikToks are performing, you will find that they're buckets. There could be Reels with just audio and a title, a header. Then there are Reels where you're sharing tips on the screen and then you learn more in the caption, right? You continue in the caption, you just give a teaser on the screen. Then there are Reels where you're doing B-roll and you're sharing a story. There's so many different types. So content creation, actually good content creation, comes from content studying. Okay. This is not just something that people pop up and do really well. If they want to repeat and not just be a fluke with something that they created, that's why there's the whole thing of a post goes viral, because you can't actually plan what goes viral, but you can study to see what is going well for your audience and what goes well on your page. So for the Side Hustle Pro page, quote posts do really well. I still dabble and will make a reel, but when I don't have the bandwidth in my life, I don't stress myself over making reels or even making snippets from the episodes, because I know that what really performs well is the quotes, and I have to keep that up. And that's just that they're just certain type of profiles that are like that. There's an Instagram profile called We the Urban. If you look on their Reels tab or his Reels tab, because I learned who's behind it the other day, I think maybe 2 Reels. And because he realized his bread and butter is really these inspirational swipe through carousel of quotes that he's creating. So if it ain't broke, why fix it? Why stress yourself just because someone else's algorithm is dependent on Reels? Your audience, your target person is coming to you for these static posts, then you better make some static posts. Okay, but that comes with testing, analysis. And that's not to say you shouldn't try anything new, because the algorithm does, it does shake every now and again, but make sure that you are understanding what works for your person on your page. So your person might go to another page and really like their reels, but on your page, they're coming to you for that thing. So make time to study, make time to do your content studying in order to do your content planning. And then as you plan out your content, make room for testing, make room for exploring a different content type. So content types are things like static image posts, static quote posts, reels, and then within the reels, you would have like sub bullets of the different kind of reels that you want to test. You can do slides, like posts with multiple images or multiple quotes or whatever. That's what I mean by content types. Before, people were testing things like kind of doing mini articles or mini blog posts. Honestly, I think there is room for people to do more with a more education format on Instagram. And I don't think that's been cracked yet. So that's a space you might want to look into, like really teaching people through the different slides in a way that's still bite-sized, that's still snackable, that they can still digest fast. Because remember, people are scrolling, you got to grab their attention. But I think there's opportunity to crack that code. So think about that. Step 4 through all of this is the scheduling of the content. I hope that you understand that in order to be good on Instagram, you do not need to spend your whole life on Instagram. As a matter of fact, if you're spending your whole life on Instagram, then you are neglecting other areas of your business. To be good on any platform means to be strategic. And a strategic content creator is scheduling, is batch creating and scheduling. So that's part of the plan your content as well. Batch create, plan what you're going to create, batch create. So now let's get into the scheduling. So it's important to schedule because, again, you may not always be in the mood. You want to make sure that when you are vibrating most high, meaning you wake up in a good mood, then you are able to get out as much content as possible, because some days you're going to just wake up in a groggier mood and you're not going to feel like it. So scheduling also keeps you consistent, because I see the most growth, and I'm sure everyone sees the most growth when we are consistent, when we have posts coming out like boom, boom, boom regularly, because that's when people are engaging regularly. Because, oh, I just saw a post you like, so Instagram's going to put me back in your feed next time. And oh, if you happen to like that post, the next post that comes out later that day and you like it, boom, I'm higher in your feed the next day and the next day and the next day. So not only does it breed consistency from my page, but it also, the algorithm then picks up its consistency with showing me to others, and then others can pick up their consistency with engaging and liking the post and seeing the post. So that's why consistency is so very important, because consistency in posting equals growth. Okay. If you are thinking to yourself, Nicaila, I've been so consistent and I'm not growing, then you skipped a step, beloved. That means that you don't know who you're talking to. So you need to go back to identifying your target audience. That means that you're not creating the content that person needs. So you need to go back to content research, planning out your content, and also you need to go back to step 2, which is engaging with your audience. Because when you engage with your audience, feel free to ask them questions too, like, oh, wow, what made you like this post? Or what did you like about this? Blah, blah, blah. Develop a dialogue, because that's another way to get insights without having to go through a whole other survey or getting on the phone all over again. So consistency equals growth. And if you're not seeing that, go back to a step. Now, let's get into the scheduling. So first and foremost, when it comes to scheduling, make sure you're looking at your Instagram insights. Make sure your page is a professional page that has a professional dashboard. So professional meaning it used to be that you had to select business, but now you can be creator, you can be all these different account types that get a dashboard, and your dashboard will show you insights. So I'm looking at my dashboard right now, and I can see things like the content that got the most engagement over the last week or so. You can see it not just week, but over months, and you can just narrow your insights by certain windows. So I can see the accounts reach, the accounts engaged, total followers, the content I shared, and within that content, I can see how each piece of content performed, from the engagement to the comments and the reach of each particular piece of content. I can go back 7 days, 30 days, 3 months, 6 months, last year, 2 years. So you really have a wealth of information available to you. Then you also get things like inspirational posts, like Instagram also tells you now, before you used to have to dig this out, Instagram now tells you in your professional dashboard, the audio that's popular with your followers, the reels that have been similar to you, the accounts that are similar to you. So before you used to have to really go and figure this out yourself, but now you can kind of get a gist of that. It's not always as accurate. Okay. Their algorithm shows some crazy stuff. So the accounts part is not always as accurate, but at least you have a place to start, right? At least you have a place to start. So that's what I like about that. So see which kinds of posts are performing the best, and then use that to inform your next week's content. So again, once I started really looking at reels and seeing like, hey, that's not really what my people want. It's cool, and I'll keep testing it, but it's not something I need to stress myself over. Let's go back to the basics and let's go back to working. And if I wasn't looking at my insights, I would be on a hamster wheel, and you don't need to be. Okay. And useful tools for measuring and scheduling. So again, Instagram Insights. I also use a third-party tool to schedule. You can schedule. Facebook and Instagram have a business dashboard that you can schedule through, but I tend to schedule through a platform called Later, Later. We'll link to it. And I like that platform because of the user interface. It just agrees with me. I like it. And being able to, I can see a preview window, right? So I can see how my feed is going to look when the next 12 posts go out. And if I don't like how it looks, I can just simply drag and drop and rearrange things. So that's really convenient. I like that. And then it also provides another layer of insights. It will email me and say, hey, this post is performing really well. Because again, I don't agree with like living on social media all day. So I may have posted it, engaged with it in the first 30 minutes because they say that helps, right? So I was there to respond to comments when it first goes live. But after that, I'm like, I got to get back to work. And then after, I might get an email from Later that says, hey, this post is doing really well. So I'll go back over to Instagram and I'm like, oh, wow, 3,000 likes. Oh, wow, 300,000 views. Like, let me go in there and engage some more, because the more engagement, the more people see it, the more Instagram serves it to even more people and more accounts that it reaches, and the more followers and growth that your page can have. So that is the scheduling piece. And of course, I already kind of jumped the gun and touched on step 5, which is measuring your content's performance, which is going through your Instagram insights and going through the insights if you use a third-party dashboard. But I use Later to schedule everything out, and I use Canva to create quotes and things like that and design things. And I love Canva because I can go through and find new templates that I want to experiment with. And there's even a way to create multiple posts. If you would like a tutorial on how to create like over 100 posts in 10 minutes using Canva, let me know, because I will create that as a next kind of tutorial bonus or something like that. So let me know when I post this episode on Instagram, just in the DMs, create that video or something like that. Not the DMs, in the comment section. But yes, I use Canva to create posts. I use Later to schedule the posts. And yeah, I keep Instagram pretty basic in that way. In conclusion, I want you guys to know that it is still possible to grow a genuine following over on Instagram, and it's so important for your side hustle. This episode, I think this will be kind of like a part 1, because this episode is all about the building of it, the conversion aspect yet, because so many people get the building wrong, and then they're like, well, why am I not converting people? Why are these people not buying? Why are they not subscribing or listening to my podcast? Et cetera, et cetera. And that's because the building has to be really aligned. If you are not talking to who you want to be talking to, then you're not going to get people to take action. So we're focusing on the building in this episode. So again, step 1, understanding your audience. Step 2, engaging with your audience. Step 3, planning your content. Step 4, scheduling your content. And step 5, measuring your content's performance. A few quick notes. Number 1, when it comes to planning your content, please remember that you can batch create. You do not have to create content every single day of your life. Number two, the note that I want you to know is when I say schedule, I really mean some of your content. I don't mean that your page should just be robotic, everything scheduled, blah, blah, blah. But if you're side hustling like I was, and most of us are busy, I don't want you every day on Instagram like it's your job, because there's so many other areas of your business that are also important. So that's why we talk about scheduling, but you need to be on there. So for example, with Later, although I auto publish, it tells me when the post goes live. So I go there and I quickly check, hey, did everything go well? Let me engage for a bit. Let me share it to my story. That I could auto do as well, but I just do that manually right now. And I just make sure that everything's right, because there have been times I've worked in social media for over a decade now. And there have been times when something happened in the world, and the last thing you want to do is have something major happen in the world and to look tone deaf because you have automated posts going. So although you have your post schedule, please do not be a robot. Please keep those notifications on your phone so you remember what is going across all of your accounts. And the last thing I'll say is Instagram works best when you don't overthink it or you don't overstress it. People love to say things like, oh, I'm shadow banned. Oh, my posts aren't reaching. Oh, I'm blocked. All these things that honestly, there's no proof that is happening. I actually don't believe these things are real. And it's just a reason to get discouraged. Train your brain to say, hey, no matter what's going on, it's just a phase. It will pass. And once I figure this out, once I get over this hump, I'm going to be able to get this platform to start working for me. And if it's not working for me, again, we can test, we can go back to the steps and say, have I done everything that I need to do with these steps? And is this the best platform for my person? It may be another platform. It may be LinkedIn, which we'll get into in a future episode. So again, go ahead, implement those tips. Let me know how you feel. If you like this episode, like, subscribe, leave me a comment, let me know. And if you have any questions, email me hi@sidehustlepro.co, and I will talk to you next week. Hey guys, thanks for listening to Side Hustle Pro. If you like the show, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts. It helps other side hustlers just like you to find the show. And if you want to hear more from me, you can follow me on Instagram at Side Hustle Pro. Plus, sign up for my 6-bullet Saturday newsletter at sidehustlepro.co/newsletter. When you sign up, you will receive weekly nuggets from me, including what I'm up to, personal lessons, and my business tip of the week. Again, that's sidehustlepro.co/newsletter to sign up. Talk to you soon.